There it is. There's the woohoo, which sends us into the start of the show. Well, welcome to another amazing Friday on Let's Talk About It, AM 1470, KELA and KELAAM.com. I am not John Vervail, and I am Peter Robarno, again filling in for John on this Friday. It's a beautiful Friday. Kevin Carns is with me today. Kevin, man, it is a beautiful day.
It is. I heard it's going to break 80 degrees Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was in the high 70s. Grass is growing. People are sneezing. It's that time of year. Well, we've got a good show today, a great show today. Tell us who we're going to hear from and what we're going to talk about.
So we're going to talk to Brian Heywood, the founder of Let's Go Washington, who has been digging deep into his own pockets to bring initiatives to the people to try and slow the roll of the craziness that you're dealing with in Olympia, Peter.
I think that everybody's dealing with when you look at all the crazy, like, I mean, you look at gas prices and, you look at regulations, you look at taxes, you look at what's going on in schools. I mean, I think it's every employee, employer, every parent is dealing with some of the craziness.
$6 a gallon yesterday in Chehalis.
Yeah. And again, I mean, hey, I blame some national and international factors on that, but it doesn't change the fact that it's still $1.50 more than the national average. It's still so much more than everybody else is paying.
Well, and state regulations are permanent, and what's going on in the Middle East is likely temporary.
Yeah, it is craziness. But let's get on, because I have to ask Brian, because I've never asked him. I mean, I've talked to him before. He's a great guy doing yeoman's work for our state. But how does someone like that get involved in the craziness of public policy, and what put him over that edge? I got to ask. That's going to be my first question.
I'm absolutely interested in his origin story and why he does what he does, because he doesn't have to.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing, right? I mean, there's so many, I always say this about even volunteers. They've got other things to do and other places to go. There's a passion inside them that gets them moving in a certain direction to try to improve our communities, our states, and our organizations. And we're gonna go right to Brian right now. So we could ask that origin story. It's kind of like the Spider-Man origin story.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it. Maybe we'll do a Marvel movie about Brian. Hold on. Brian, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
We're good. It's a good day, and we've got you on the show and excited to hear. I mean, obviously you may have heard our intro where we all want to hear your Spider-Man origin story, like how you got involved with the passion to help improve Washington State.
I think I got bit by a radioactive liberal or something like that. I don't know.
Which is a problem. We got to watch for radioactive Democrats, right?
Exactly. And there's like a sort of a nest of them down in Olympia that you have to be careful of.
Yeah.
A lot of them wear purple jerseys with words SEIU on them.
Yeah, well, so tell us a little bit about this, because I think a lot of our listeners are interested. You hear about Brian Heywood, you hear about the slant on it from like a King County or Seattle media, and you hear about Let's Go Washington. So, but how did you get started to try to improve our communities in our state?
In some ways, it goes back to I moved here from California in 2010, and I just watched California go from California had sort of a crazy liberal that went into an insane progressivity. Laws that were made that punished business, that punished home ownership, that punished land ownership, that punished anyone that was trying to do anything valuable or create value. And I moved my whole business here from California. I moved 40 families up from California. And in fact, many of the people I thought we'd lose, several of our executive assistants convinced their husbands to change jobs and move up here with us, right? Because in 2010, Washington was I would call it sort of a libertarian left-leaning state, which meant don't mess with me and I don't mess with you, right? And you might not agree on things, but it was livable. The schools were fantastic. The streets were well-maintained. The ferry system worked. The drugs in the city were not just on display everywhere. And it seems like two things happened. There's sort of this progressive takeover of the Democrat Party led to an anti-business and an anti-public safety mindset. And it's really happened over these 15 years. It's just radically changed. And as it was happening, part of what hit me is how many times do I just keep moving from state to state trying to get away from it, or do I stand and fight? And part of it was that. And I think the second part is I'm self-diagnosed. One of my kids was diagnosed with oppositional defiance disorder, and I think maybe I have a little bit of that.
Was that hereditary, Brian?
I'm guessing it must be, because I don't like someone telling me what I can and can't do. And it seems like that's all Olympia wants to do, is tell everybody what they can and can't do on their property, with their income, with their house, with their kids.
Yeah.
So,
well, and but one thing you said, I want to go, before you move on, I want to go back to that one thing you said, because I don't think we've talked about this before. But Brian, you talked about the libertarianism that Washington had before, where I think even conservatives or Republicans can at least accept the fact that this was a blue state, because it was kind of a live and let live. It was like, stay out of my business, let me grow and create opportunities. But now it's kind of gone away from that. I mean, that's an important point you made.
It's really gone away from it. I would describe people, when I moved up here, the environmentalists in Washington State seemed much more of a, hey, this is a beautiful place, let's take care of it and protect it. And that's a great environmentalism. But the California environmentalism was, humans are bad, we need to protect the earth from humans, so let's lock off large swaths of land and keep humans out. Mm-hmm. And that seems, it wasn't that when I moved here. And now it seems like it's sort of moved into that kind of environmentalism. All humans and human activity is bad. And it's the same thing with business. I might not like what you're doing, but our Constitution is just incredible. It's almost more defensive of personal rights than the U.S. Constitution. It is a really great document, and it's just being completely abused and trampled on.
Yeah.
Now.
So Brian, we want to get a little deeper into what you've got cooking this year specifically. Now that listeners kind of understand why you do what you do, and you're a man with resources who could pick up and leave, but you chose to stay and fight. What this year do you have cooking at Let's Go Washington specifically, and how can our listenership potentially participate?
There's a bunch of things. So Let's Go Washington is doing some, and then we've got a couple of organizations that we're working with. I think there's 3 or 4 things that have to happen this year. And these aren't all Let's Go Washington, but they're things I'm working with people on or supporting. I think, first of all, we need to have the lawsuit against the unconstitutional income tax. And so working with Rob McKenna and Pete Talmadge, and I think that's a great combination there, where we've got former Supreme Court Justice who's a Democrat with a former Attorney General, both of them saying, hey, this is unconstitutional.
That's a pretty powerhouse legal team.
It really is. And I think it points to the sort of complete abdication of responsibility that Jamie Peterson and Lori Jenkins showed, the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader, in saying, well, we're going to craft a bill, and Jamie's words were, we're going to force the Supreme Court, but we're going to throw our responsibility on the Supreme Court and make them change the Constitution.
Yeah.
So that's the first piece. The second piece, to me, that's really important, there are 5 Supreme Court justices that will be on the ballot in November. And that's an unprecedented opportunity. I've seen, I went back and looked at all the PDF filings for how much money was spent on the judicial races in past years. And with the exception of Dave Larson's race, where he lost by 20,000 votes, in that race, he raised $200,000 and his opponent raised about $500,000. But before that, every single judge was like $29,000 ran unopposed, $23,000 ran unopposed. And I don't think voters have had an opportunity really to vote on the Supreme Court justice in a while. And this year, I'm aware of about 4 solid constitutional candidates that will be, at least 4 that are running. Hopefully there's another 5th one, that are actually going to oppose sort of the status quo, the governor appointees, that could make a real difference. And that'll impact us on a lot of places. And then the
well, hold one second, Brian. For folks who are just tuning in, this is the Let's Talk About show, AM 1470 KELA and KELAAM.com. I'm your host today, Peter Robarno, filling in for John. Kevin Carns is with me, but we have a really cool guest today, Brian Heywood, who is the founder of Let's Go Washington. So if you're just tuning in and you're like, who's this guy talking about Supreme Court justices? Want to just fill that in so that you stay tuned, because it's a really fascinating conversation we're having right now, because he's talking about the fact that we have a ton of Supreme Court justices that are going to be on the ballot, and that's pretty unprecedented in the state of Washington. So it gives people an opportunity finally to not skip that on the ballot, because most of them run unopposed. Now you're going to have some significant races where you're going to learn the differences between the folks who might rubber stamp an unconstitutional income tax and those who might stand up for the Constitution. Brian's explaining that right now really, really well.
And I think you made a great point, Peter, and we'll get back to Brian, but I'm working a West Virginia Supreme Court race right now, and we did a lot of research. Up to 30% of voters just skip down the ballot for a lack of information about their justice candidates. And that goes to Brian's point about financing. And there is a huge opportunity to put some reasonable legal minds into those seats.
Yeah, and get some balance. So, Brian, sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to make sure people knew, who you are, what you're talking about, if someone tuned in a little late.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, it was you. I'm spot on with where you're at on it. And I think something that Kevin mentioned, and both of you guys have mentioned, is the undervote that happens on the Supreme Court ballot. The people that maybe vote for there's two parts, right? One, that people vote for something else but don't vote on that because they don't know who to vote for. There doesn't seem to be one that they'd like to vote for. And the other is just people that are aware but don't vote at all. And I think it's a huge challenge in the state. There, like Dave Larson last time, Supreme Court lost by 20,000 votes, but there were a huge number of people that voted in that election that didn't vote for Supreme Court justice.
Yeah.
And if he would have had 20,000 of them vote for him, it was well over that number. It seems like it was a couple 100,000 people more than that voted that didn't vote in the Supreme Court race. There were people that voted that could have changed the election.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big opportunity.
Yeah, and then
the third opportunity.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, no. Go on with your third opportunity. Yeah.
Third opportunity. I believe that there are 4 to 5 House seats and a couple of Senate seats that with some money and some effort could flip. And I really believe it's important that Olympia has to pay a price. When I say the one-party majority rule in Olympia needs to pay a price for their arrogance towards the Constitution and towards the voters. If they don't lose a seat or two, they're going to keep doing what they do, which is just saying nothing can stop us. We can just make any law that we want, and we don't care because we're going to get rubber stamped by the Supreme Court. So I think that's a third piece. And then the fourth is probably the piece that you're thinking I'm going to talk about, which is an initiative or a referendum. And I'll pause there to give you a moment to catch your breath and maybe ask the question and direct it however you want, because I can go into that next.
No, I think your points were really good, and I think what I try to remind people is that some of the more extreme policies happened in the last 2 to 4 years as House Republicans and Senate Republicans lost that 1 seat or 2 seats where you have that bond protection, right? And you're seeing the more extreme issues. So in reality, we always say we want to see people say Democrats want a blue wave, Republicans want a red wave. Well, in Washington State, if you just want pragmatic balance, Republicans only need 1 or 2 seats to start that process of saying, hey, let's moderate this state a little bit, because I think you're seeing more extremism when you see 40 years of Democrat governors and you see a lopsided government that's controlled only by one party and one bureaucracy for that long. Kevin, I mean, thoughts?
Yeah, it's horrible. One-party rule does not work anywhere it's ever been tried. Checks and balances were written into our system intentionally for a reason.
Yeah.
And like to Brian's point, if it's a behavior modification issue, right? If they don't feel pain, then they're going to keep doing what they are doing.
Yeah, and we need to give them reasons to change the behavior at the ballot box too, right? I mean, yeah, it's incumbent upon Republicans to put up good candidates that explain a message. I mean, it's helpful when Washington is so unaffordable, and it's directly related to bad policies in Olympia. But it also comes down to folks like Brian, as well as candidates and others, to say, hey, here's the alternative. If you want to put us in office or give us some seats, we can help moderate this a bit and bring some reasonable policies. So, Brian, what's that fourth point? I mean, obviously it's the initiatives, right?
Right. It is, and there's two paths that we're going down. One is a potential referendum, right? And for people that don't know the quick and dirty difference between a referendum and an initiative, there's about two or three key things. And a referendum is a straight up or down vote, yes or no, on a law passed by the legislature. Yes, we support this law. No, we reject it. And it's psychologically easier to get people to vote no, we don't like that law, than it is to get them to say yes, vote yes to vote no, right? Get yes to overturn this thing. So it's designed to be an easy check on the legislature when they do something. And it also only requires 200,000 signatures to get on the ballot versus an initiative that requires about 400,000 signatures. So it's and then the final piece is that you don't get a financial impact statement on it, which is, as you guys have seen, all they have to do is put this would defund K through 12. Doesn't matter whether it does or not. Put it to defund K through 12, and you're going to lose 10, 15 points at the ballot box.
Yeah.
So we challenged the Secretary of State, Steve Hobbs. We didn't even challenge him. We submitted a referendum on the income tax bill, and Steve Hobbs' office basically said, well, you don't have a constitutional right to do that. We challenged that. It went to the Supreme Court. Yesterday they had an en-banc session. They ruled on several other things, but they didn't rule on ours yet. So we're expecting to hear maybe today a ruling on that, their opinion on it. If we win, if the Supreme Court says, yeah, well, and there's a whole other mess, which is like another hour-long conversation I'm sure we don't have, but the legislature, the Democrats in the legislature have abused a loophole that allows them to stop a referendum. And it basically says there are certain, if it's an emergency under these certain conditions, the legislature can say no referendum can be done.
Yeah. And for folks who don't know, Democrats put emergency clauses in bills all the time so that it then doesn't go to a vote to the people and it gets implemented virtually immediately after the governor signs it.
Not everything is an emergency.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, right? So.
Well, I went back and looked at the bills for the last 8-10 years, and it's about between 8 and 11% every year of the bills that are actually signed have an emergency clause in them. And that's kind of crazy when if you had like 0.5% that had an emergency clause, you'd go, okay, that feels about right. 1%, would be a lot. 5% would be, wow, it seems like they're kind of abusing it. But we're at like 10% every year is an emergency, which means we've either got incompetence or fraud going on with how much emergency stuff was going on.
Yeah, or transparency issues, right? I mean, if 100%. We're seeing, I mean, and I haven't done that analysis. It's interesting you say that because I would imagine if you look over the last 10 years, that it has grown to that 10%, and it is the majority saying, hey, people, like, you don't have a right to challenge our decisions, even though it's in the Constitution, that right, and they want to take that away from people's vote, which is what we tried to do with the income tax, is to say, hey, let's let the people vote on it rather than just pass an income tax. That was part of the 24-hour plus debate. It was partly why are we doing it in the middle of the night, and why are we not going to let the people have a voice?
I think we know why.
Yeah, we do. Brian knows why. That's why Brian's fighting it.
Well, yeah, it really there's an if I step back, this is my armchair analysis. I think that back in the day, you had Frank Chop, who helped create the SEIU union. Right, he was running the House. And he ran the union and sort of was old school Chicago-style political power and controlled things. When he passed away, I think the SEIU sort of took the reins, it seems to me, and they're calling the shots, and there's no check on them. There's none. And they haven't had to pay a price at the ballot box. The Democrats at the ballot box haven't had to pay a price. And I think that they're I'm watching the money. SEIU they pumped in like $30 million over the last couple of years, more than Amazon, more than Microsoft, more than all those guys combined. These guys are funding a machine to do whatever the heck they want to do. Yeah. And it's not in the favor of the taxpayers.
It definitely isn't. And Brian, we're going to take a quick break for our sponsors, and we're going to be back in about 1 minute. Let's take a quick break for our sponsors. We're going to be back with Brian Heywood with Let's Go Washington. We're talking the initiatives. We're going to finish up our discussion on this. And thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Let's Talk About It, AM 1470, KELA, and KELAAM.com. Stay tuned.
Let's talk about it.
Whether it's getting the kiddos to school,
I love you. Bye, Mom.
or taking it off-road and uphill.
Oh, yeah! Yeah! Oh, yeah, baby!
We've got the right tires for you.
Point Centralia OK Tire specializes in custom wheels and tires. Did you know they also service brakes, shocks, struts, and batteries? Keep your vehicle in tip-top shape with Point Centralia OK Tire on Harrison or pointtire.com/Centralia.
Deep in the old-growth forests of western Washington, you'll find rare critters, exotic fauna, and one of the area's oldest community banks. Since 1915, Timberland Bank has helped western Washington thrive, with financial services designed for people and businesses right here, and 23 branches all the way from Ocean Shores to Paulsbo. In fact, Timberland has roots all throughout western Washington. Just watch your step. Those suckers are easy to trip on. Timberland Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
At Fuller's Marketplace, they strive to have everything on your list at affordable prices. From fresh produce to locally sourced meat, cut to order, selection of fresh seafood and bakery. Items you won't find at any other stores, including wide selection of international foods and natural and organic products, such as a large selection of Bob's Red Mill. For all your grocery needs, visit them on Tower in Centralia. Fuller's Marketplace, your locally owned grocery store since 1941. They look forward to seeing you.
When home projects are on your mind, make it easy with Hub City Supply. Thinking about new cabinets, countertops, floors, windows, or doors? Here's the best part: you don't have to go anywhere. Hub City Supply brings their expertise right to you with a free in-home consultation. See options, get ideas, and plan your project without fighting traffic or guessing in a showroom. Find them at hubcitysupply.net. That's hubcitysupply.net, and book your free in-home consultation today. Hub City Supply, making your home look great from every angle.
It's Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Stay tuned. We're coming up right after. Let's talk about it here on KELA.
You're listening to KELA's Let's Talk About It, coming to you live from the KELA Lucky Eagle Casino and Hotel Broadcast Studio in the beautiful Twin Cities.
Let's talk about it now!
All right, we're back with the Let's Talk About It show on AM 1470 KELA and KELAAM.com. I'm your host, Peter Robarno, today on this beautiful Friday in Centralia in the Twin Cities. Kevin Carns is co-hosting with me today, and on the line is Brian Heywood, the founder of Let's Go Washington. We're talking about the initiatives. We got about 5 minutes left for Brian to talk about the initiative, what's going on, and how you can get involved. So, Brian, welcome back to the show after that commercial break and that really long outro.
Very long outro.
Too long of an outro.
Too long.
We got to get to it. I want some AC/DC, make it quick and easy.
Dirty deeds done dirt cheap.
All right, Brian. So you were talking about the initiatives. We were talking about emergency clauses, which you and I both share distaste for. But now we've got something on the ballot.
Yeah, and so this year we've already got two initiatives on the ballot anyway, right, which is the protecting parents' right to know what's going on with their kids at school, and the other is protecting girls' sports. So that'll be on the ballot. But we're now working on there's three possibilities. One is we get the referendum. Depending on what the judge says today, if we do a referendum, we'll be right out the door. We're ready to go and print that out, and we got to collect the signatures by like the middle of June. And if I can put a pitch for people, can call. They can go to letsgowashington.com or letsgowa.com, either one, and pre-sign up to get sheets so they can gather signatures or send their own signatures in at letsgowa.com. But we're ready to do a referendum if we get the green light from the Supreme Court. If we don't, we're going to either do an initiative to the people or to the legislature. We're sort of evaluating that and raising money for it. People can certainly get involved by donating, but even more, if you can't donate, one of the biggest things that people can do is gather signatures. And every signature they gather saves us some money and puts some smack back on the other side who's been pushing this. We like I said, we've got to have 400,000 signatures by, if we do initiative this year to the people, we have to gather 400,000 signatures by July 3rd, and it would then go on the ballot in November. And if we do it to the legislature, we've got to have it by December, but we would start gathering right away. And we're looking at a straight-up repeal of the income tax.
And people can go to letsgowad.com or letsgowashington.com like now to sign up to start getting updates so that if you get the ruling from the court, then you guys can just go right away and contact these folks and say, we're ready to get signatures. Is that right?
And I think it's exactly right. And it's been interesting. Last year when we ran an initiative, over about a 4 or 5 month period, we had 3,000 people sign up to get signature sheets. This year, in the last 2 weeks, as we announced this, we already had 4,000 people sign up this year to pre-sign up. And I think what that speaks to is something really important. People understand this income is not an income on rich people. Income tax is not a tax only on rich people. This tax is coming for you.
Yeah.
Whether it's today or it's next year, the rate's going to go up. The number of people that get covered by it, your boss is going to get hit by it. And the realtors are the ones that will tell you right now. You talk to realtors who are right at the heart of what's going on. There is a mass exodus of people in high-value homes. It's not small. It's significant, and it's real. And that means people that invest in the state, people that run businesses, they're leaving the state. And the revenue that they're hoping for is not going to be there, and they're going to expand it. I would not be surprised if this legislature tries to expand the people that are targeted by the income tax before it even goes into effect.
Well, and I think one thing people don't understand either is that the money, the anticipated revenue from the income tax is already spent, like on existing programs. So don't sit here and think that this income tax, quote unquote, on millionaires is going to pay for new programs. It's already spent in the 4-year outlook. So the only way that this legislature can get more money is either lower that threshold to tax more people or cut the budget. And since we know over the last at least 6 years I've been in the legislature, it's grown 20%. They're not going to cut the budget. They're going to increase revenue through the income tax.
300 new government employees to implement it.
Yeah, we know for a fact. And I think, Brian, you're right on. And Brian, we didn't even get to the Parents' Bill of Rights stuff. We didn't get to boys playing at girls sports initiatives, which I think we're going to have you back on the show at some point soon because we need to go through some of those as well because those are huge. But we just ran out of time, Brian. But give that website one more time. I want people to sign up.
It's letsgowad.com. Letsgowad.com. And it should all be easy there. You can sign up to get signatures. You can donate. You can sign up for updates, and we'll keep you in the loop. And there is a lot. I think one of the things I'd like to leave people with is even if you support this income tax, the big question is, do you like what it's paying for?
Yeah.
Do you like how they're spending the money? And people have to look at worse schools, worse roads, lower public safety, higher prices at the pump, higher prices in the grocery store. That's all coming from crazy policies out of Olympia, and you shouldn't be happy with what they're spending the money on.
Nope. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate you being on the phone and on the Let's Talk About It show on AM 1470 KELA and KELAAM.com with Brian Heywood with Let's Go Washington. Thank you.
Thanks for what you're doing, Brian.
Thank you, guys.
From the KELA